say hi.
Yeah, no, please check in.
All right, let me get the sheet out here.
Oh, I did pretty well.
I think you did. All right. Will Sam Amick be wearing glasses this morning? You said yes. I said yes.
Check.
That is a 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Will Sam Amick have a hat on? You said
no. Perfectly coiffed hair.
I said yes. Circle gets the square. Yes. Jason Ross up 1. Will he be in the office? You said yes. I said yes. We are correct. And finally, will there be a softly or never used piece of exercise equipment behind him?
That wasn't the way it was worded.
I said no.
I said it would be back, but I don't see it.
I do not see it. Therefore, you and I end up a tie. Everybody in the chat room, do your own scoring on what will Sam's background be. Hey, Sam, good morning. You can be a part of this interview.
We need a tiebreaker. I mean, you can't leave it there. Like, what's going next?
Okay, all right. I got one. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, all right. So we'll each have one. Okay, so mine is Sam Amick wearing shoes? Or now if he's just in socks, slippers and sandals don't count.
Shoes, socks, or slippers.
Are you serious?
The same thing down.
We had this.
I'm going to go socks. Just socks only.
You know what? I think Sam woke up this morning and got a good run in. I'm going sneakers.
Okay.
Sam?
Who wears sneakers in their house, man?
Yeah, dang it.
God.
Is it socks or do you have slippers on?
It's socks.
Yes. Is it socks and sandals? Or are you going full dad? Or
No, just the socks.
I should have known. Good morning, Sam. How was your New Year?
Good morning. I feel very judged right now. My God.
Oh, in a good way.
Yeah.
New Year was good. Happy to be on the other side of a meaningful but exhausting holiday season. So we're good. Went to Kings last night. Went to Kings the night before. So
hey, in celebration of the Kings last night, they went to 2 OTs. Is Sam wearing pants?
Oh, we didn't even ask that. We know that.
I feel like he
no chance.
Would it be great? He's got like Easter bunny, one of those like pajama pants on.
Oh yeah,
Sam, you got pants on, right?
I do. I should have given you a no comment just to make it.
Sam, we've been looking all week, so we'll ask you a King specific question. How does this team lose to a 7-24 Portland team on the road? How do they lose to a Charlotte team missing everyone pretty much that lost 11 in a row and then turn around and win in double OT versus the Magic? What do you diagnose, Dr. Amick, is the issue with the inconsistency here?
I think my new stance on the Kings, and I feel like I said this a little bit last week, was from the fan standpoint. I just think everybody should adopt that same mentality they had last year, which is where after 16 years of awfulness, you just enjoy every W. Because if you nitpick, this team is a very soft, 5th place in the West type team. Mm-hmm. And it's honestly frustrating to watch. That game last night, Orlando's down a ton of guys. They lose 2 more guys in the course of the game. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's funny, full disclosure, I might have gone home at halftime. So I caught, 40% of the game and watched the rest at home. And I'm watching the celebration after the double OT win and all the good vibes that came with it. And that's great. And I get it. But you're sitting there going, okay, 2 quarters ago, this was a disaster that they were giving up a big lead again. As a quick aside, I just looked at the standings, and again, like this new reality where Kings fans can get really, really greedy. If they don't drop the Portland game and the Charlotte game and then go ahead and pick, 1 or 2 more, like the Houston back-to-back that frustrated everybody so much, any of those, I mean, they are 4 games back from the number 1 seed in the West. Which with, you take a handful of those away, this could be your West leader. So they're in a good spot. They just are wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, and I like the way you said it, like kind of from the fan lens. Look, that's the ride they're on. There's going to be nights like the last 2 nights. I just think that's the reality of the team. But if we shift that to the front office lens, they got to look at this differently. They see the inconsistencies you're alluding to, Sam. So does that mean like they feel the pressure, not pressure. They know the certainty that if they want to be what they think they can be, they've got to make a move?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, around the league, it does feel like people are wondering, what the Kings will do, not if they will do something. But and we've kind of already attacked this thing from every angle. Just no news obviously has broken. I don't know in terms of the bigger stuff, the bigger names that we've talked about. Other than the draft picks, I've been having people ask me around the league, like, who are they willing to give up on their roster? There's nobody that really moves the needle that they are willing to give up on this roster. There's just not. I don't think Barnes moves the needle. I don't think Kevin Huerter moves the needle, or Davion Mitchell. And really, as you know, it's kind of a Sabonis, Fox, and Keegan Murray and everybody else should look over their shoulder a little bit type element.
Even Monk?
This is just me talking.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that if you end up going for one of the bigger names, and especially one that has got to get paid this summer, then that's where Monk and the fact that he's heading into free agency comes into play. And also, to flip that a little bit, yeah, I think Monk is one that if you are just trying to move the needle with another team and kind of, realize that you've got to give if you want to get, then maybe Malik gets caught up in a conversation. Within that, though, it's the question of, you got the personal relationship with De'Aaron Fox, which, I think you got to make sure that De'Aaron's in a good place. So how does he see it? That's all speculation on the Monk front. But, he showed again last night that while he a little bit is a poster boy of this team as far as being inconsistent, not wildly inconsistent, but he goes up and down. Like, my God, he can win you a game, and especially when Fox has a bad night, which never happens almost.
Sam Amick joining us. Sam, I'm I always bring up Ben Simmons' name. Everyone calm down. I'm obviously off the Simmons bandwagon, although I think a healthy Ben Simmons would be a wonderful fit for what the Kings need, but he's not healthy. I'm using this only just simply as an example because I couldn't agree with you more about value and moving the needle. However, like, for example, I'm looking at the trade machine, which I know writers probably love us doing. And I'm seeing, for example, a Barnes, Huerter, and Davion Mitchell for Ben Simmons trade works salary-wise. Obviously, Simmons is not the right example, but to your point about them not moving the needle, is perhaps part of Monty's hope is that maybe he can take that non-core, whether there's picks involved or not, maybe, and grab somebody that maybe is a distressed talent, like a Ben Simmons type, which I know is, what I'm saying here, and I'm fumbling around, somebody that maybe they both just want to get off of each other's contract type of thing. Could that be the angle he's going for?
It could be. I just don't know the names.
Yeah.
The Simmons one would I'm pretty confident saying would be semi-universally panned. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as semi-universally, but just a couple galaxies.
Panned on whose side, by the way? I'm assuming you're saying panned on the Kings side?
Yeah, I just think that you've got this significant body of work that Ben Simmons can't be part of a successful situation. That was the dog.
Okay, all right.
Well, hold on. Since we're in a game playing mode this morning,
Yes.
What did you think it was, Dave? That look on your face.
I'm just going to be honest. It sounded like the beginning of Soundgarden's Spoon Man, and I thought it was somebody playing with spoons. And then when you said the dog thing, it made sense. So,
No, she shook and her collar was making noise.
Okay.
Another guy who comes to mind, and this is just a league-wide thing. I mean, it could be interesting and could be a PR nightmare for somebody with very good reason. Like a Miles Bridges comes to mind. We saw with the Rockets. Why am I blanking on? Was it Kevin Porter Jr.?
Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah.
We saw with the Rockets that we got reminded that pro sports can be pretty cold and calculating at times, and so the Rockets were trying to get assets for a guy who had serious off-court trouble. Miles Bridges, don't. I mean, teams are looking at him hard and trying to figure out man, he's a pretty good player. How bad are we going to get killed in the media and by the fans?
Sure.
If we go that route. So some of these distressed assets come, with questions like that. Ben Simmons doesn't have any of that type of stuff, just a matter of health and mentality. Sure. But yeah, I mean, that I think is the rough framing of the calculus that the Kings have to figure out.
Sam, sometimes, it has to get started, the trade market. And it did with the Knicks and the Raptors. Anunoby was a name that Sacramento was linked to. Others were linked to. What does that move do? Not necessarily for each the Knicks and the Raptors, though I think they both did pretty well in that, but just for the trade market, does that start something, really get going with that first move?
Yeah, I mean, specifically in Toronto, I think it does. Personally, I don't believe that, the Raptors have tried to frame it like, okay, OG is gone now. We made that move. And now we are going to evaluate Pascal Siakam within the context of this, kind of rebuilt roster. I feel like that's a bit of a stall tactic to just maintain leverage in Siakam discussions. And, and I would be surprised at this point if they don't move Pascal as well. So it does feel like a, phase one before phase two type of thing for Toronto. There's a domino effect from there around the league. Right now, a lot of the focus seems to also be on DeJounte Murray in Atlanta, the Hawks and how bad they have been and seemingly what appears to be a pretty obvious choice to continue going with Trae Young, but that DeJounte is not fitting. So, we're kind of slowly but surely seeing a little progress on those fronts.
Sam Amick of The Athletic joining us. Sam, I know, like, for example, when President Jimmy Carter passed away and you saw these long form articles right away, like, obviously those are things people have in a drawer for when it's ready to go. Same thing when the Queen passed away. We're not talking about anything as serious as that, but
where are you going?
My question is this: do you have somewhere in a drawer a half-written article about the firing of Darvin Ham? Because that's coming, right? I mean, you're a real journalist, so your colleagues Shams Charania reporting the tried and true. It appears like there is a disconnect in the locker room. The Lakers are not performing. AD and LeBron have both been relatively healthy this year. It really smells like an imminent firing in LA.
Yeah, it does. Since, we always have real conversations on this show, right? So I will admit to my own demise. It was a bad night at the office. I'm giving you all the context here. 2 nights ago, slept like garbage, needed to absolutely hit the recharge button. So I lead the Kings game at halftime and I hit the sack early for once. I'll be honest, I was frustrated. I wake up because we have such a good team thing at the Athletic, waking up and seeing my guys Shams and Jovan saying, "Hey, we're riding on the Lakers. Darvin's in trouble. Where are you at?" When I read it in the morning was a little rough, but they were all over it. We have a really good story on the site. The color in the story, Jovan Buha covers the Lakers for our place, and I thought the color that he provided on the scene was also telling. In addition to the information, he talks about how, for one, the locker room didn't open for quite a while. They had a team meeting afterwards. For two, the players chose to speak to the media like in advance of Darvin's media, and normally as some sort of kind of hat tip deference type thing, they would wait until Darvin is done to do their media. So I thought that was interesting that the players were like, "No, we're going to talk. We're going to get out of here. We don't really care what's going on with Darvin." Number 3, Austin Reeves in particular, he mentions with reporters that the vibe is smelly, if you will, to keep it G-rated. But then he clarifies that, well, no, all the players like each other. This is not a bad locker room. But the vibe is terrible. Well, that points in one direction. And it makes sense because Darvin has had their backing for a long time. They go 2-10 last season. They turn it around. They get to the West Finals. But this year he's just reaching on a nightly basis on rotations, even on philosophies, and it's not working. So we'll see what happens. I don't know who they might be looking at. It does come to mind that, Doc Rivers is sitting there right in their backyard as a guy who, is always going to be in these types of discussions. But one more thing for Kings fans to be happy about, I guess.
They just put a banner up.
That's the thing. Jay, did they actually put it? Did it go up yet?
Yeah.
They had it. It was a couple weeks ago, right?
A couple weeks ago. They had like, they played the, We're the Champions, but it was with those little honk horns. Did
they?
No. Just saying they couldn't go like full on banner, but it was like a little cute little banner, a little cute thing.
I mean, it is wild, right? Like that, I was in Vegas. I watched them, get celebrated, and LeBron played great. And it is interesting that the debut of the in-season tournament, has kind of shown this weird dynamic where you can celebrate 1 minute and be in the tank the next month.
Hey, I got one for you. Have you ever slept through or been on a plane or otherwise been like, if you can remember, and if you can share it specifically, great. If not, generalize. Like, what's the worst thing you've ever slept through or been unavailable for that a source sent you? Like, I'll just choose De'Aaron Fox because he's never signed with another team, and I don't want to hint at anything. So, like, one of your sources is like, Fox to Houston, imminent. And like, you woke up and saw that, and meanwhile, somebody else got it. Have you ever had to deal with that before?
It's a great question. I'm kind of blanking on a specific. I mean, there's been small transactions, like back years ago when I was more focused on the transaction, even the mini transaction game on social media, where you're trying to break as much as possible. I'm not doing that as much anymore. You would get little tips from agents that wouldn't come through. I'm having recency bias. This one bothered me because it's a weird kind of flex, which doesn't matter because I didn't jump on the story, but like, I'm pretty good on the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know the context. I have relationships there. So, this story's not going away. We'll be all over it, but it is, it was a funny balance because it's you're waking up and ready to make some eggs and come talk to you guys. And it was like, oh, wow, I missed a little bit here.
So you do think this is a real possibility the Lakers can move on from Darvin Ham this soon?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's gone. I'm giving him. Listen, tell you right now.
What's the schedule? Let's look at. Let me pull up.
All right, let's pull up here. I'm giving it, guys. I'm giving it the under 7.5 days.
Wow.
I will Venmo you both $5 American.
Well, here's the other thing, Jay. Pulling the curtain back even more. I was already thinking about going to LA next week, independent of this, but with this kind of element playing a part, and yeah, now it's like, okay, we're definitely going to LA. They got Memphis Friday, the Clippers Sunday. That's one of those where if Jeannie Buss sits there and watches,
he's gone. That's when it's happening. I'm calling my shot. Yeah. If they lose to the Clippers Sunday, he's
especially because they're thriving so much now.
He's gone. I'm calling it for Sunday, Sam. Call my shot.
What if they lose? Not if they lose to Memphis. You think you got one more?
If they lose to, I think it comes. If I had to guess, I would say it comes down to that Clippers game. That's a Sunday.
And if he beats the Clippers, he gets a 3-year deal.
Probably.
Well, here's the thing: if he beats the Clippers and then turns around Tuesday and loses at home to the Raptors, bye. I think he's got to win at least 3 or 4 on this trip, or they're gonna fire him, and they got a 1-game trip out to Utah for that. That's when the new coach will be.
Well, I mean, what am I missing from you guys? Like that, it's so obvious. Again, Sam, you said it. They made the conference finals. They did win the in-season tournament. We can throw that away if you want, but the season's certainly not done. You think it's him, or is this LeBron? Like what is?
No, I mean, I'm reacting. Having seen the story that we published and having connected with our other guys who they had a line in their story last night about frustration relating to rotations and coaching. And I'll be honest, you don't often see this in our stories. It's one thing to have, according to 2 sources, 3 sources. The sentence said, according to 6 sources close to the situation.
Wow.
Yikes. So they're leaking like a sieve there, which is a sign in itself.
100%. And yes, the messaging that we're getting right now is that he's in pretty serious trouble.
And how much of this, but I mean, look, I think we've always said like LeBron is the de facto coach / GM, but what would that be for him just in LA? Luke Walton, Vogel, Ham, whoever the new coach would be.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well, and it's also, I'm always fascinated by, this is now, it seems to be anyway, like that now that uncomfortable stage where he's not gone yet, and maybe he saves it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Well, behind the scenes, this is just a reality. You know, what typically happens in this period is, you know, the owner and the GM and certain people within the front office, you know, they, like we kind of hinted at it earlier, they've got to figure out, if it's not going to be him, who's it going to be? So you have that like quiet shopping around, you know, talking to different coaching agents, figuring out how different people might see the situation, because you don't want to make the move and then be, you know, caught totally unawares and not have a plan. Meanwhile, that coach is sitting there, you know, day in, day out, trying to save the situation. It's a pretty sticky element there.
I just want to throw this out there. This is something that will never happen, because it hasn't happened in about 45 years. But
player coach.
That's what I'm saying, dude. If there was ever a player that could be a player coach, probably in the history of the game, when you combine influence, basketball IQ, veteran, whatever you want to call it,
pedigree,
yeah. Like, you gotta wonder if, I'm sure he wouldn't even want to, but if LeBron went to Genie and was like, look, this is what I want to do. I'm coming to the end. I want to be the first player coach since Florida State's Dave Cowens in 78, 79 with the Boston Celtics. Can she say no to LeBron if he asked her that? If in fact Darvin's going? I
mean, you know, of course she could. It's her team.
She could.
I mean, I'm here for it in terms of the idea. I mean, if LeBron was as motivated as he was to win the in-season tournament MVP, and we saw that, like, he's at this stage of his career where it's like, well, if I'm not going to win another chip and get closer to Michael Jordan on that front, I'm going to add as many unique things to my resume as possible. So, yeah, I mean, you know, he's got the IQ, he's got the respect, he's got the leadership. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would be very excited if it did, just for the sake of entertainment. I like
Bronny, you're starting. Bronny, that's who we're picking. And okay,
and if they came back and he was coach of the year,
right?
Talk about unique to your resume.
Then he's definitely a Hall of Famer.
That would do it.
Hey,
just that.
Hey, if he wins a ring as a player coach, does that count as 2 rings in the ring legacy?
Ooh,
yeah.
Jordan never did that.
Jordan never did that. That's one thing you could do that Jordan. Oh my God,
Jordan has owned a team, multiple teams.
Jordan never won the in-season tournament MVP either. You know,
Sam, can I just say, I don't, you know, I never want to tell you to do your job. You're so good at it. But, like, I think we can all agree there's a piece here. I mean, Sam, you're going to get hits, dude. You have a legit, like, LeBron James could be the first player coach since Dave Cowens. Let's explore the ideas. He chases legacies. I think there's a really good piece here, and I just want to say you're welcome.
Thank you, Dave. You're such a good editor. Does he leave the seat on the bench open if he's the player? Like, how does that work? Do you, when you're playing, I mean, you need somewhere to sit, but does he get the head coach's seat?
No, Matt Carter sits there.
What if he got tossed out of the game as a player? Could he just leave and then come back? And
that's a great question.
Just like the athletic outfit that everybody wears now.
Or if he got tossed as a coach, does he still play?
Yeah.
What is even the rule?
You got a costume change with a suit on in like 30 seconds.
All right. Well, Sam, I would appreciate it if you would text Adam and ask him if you get tossed as one, do you get tossed as both during the break, and then we'll update everybody later.
All right. You got
text Ad Rock. See what he says. Sam Amick writes for The Athletic. Unfortunately, he never takes my ideas. It's fine.
He might this time.
Maybe like a blurb.
Yeah.
Former writer for the Sacramento Bee. He probably would have taken my ideas back then, but now he's big time. You can read him at The Athletic. Get yourself a subscription like I do when I pay full price for 2. It's worth each and every penny. Sam, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day, pal.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you. That is Sam Amick. Jason.
I like that. I just like that concept, all the things we just brought up.